Well, good afternoon. This is the first time I've tried using my action cam and to try to put a video together real quick on repacking rush muffler. In fact, these are mufflers that fit on a heritage softail, so we're drag pipes. This is the end cap style. I'm using this style of end cap on this particular unit, and there was some conversation in earlier YouTube videos that I was researching that guys were having difficulty getting the baffle system out of the unit itself. And the easiest way I found, I had been on the system on my bike for about 6 to 7 years, and I was beginning to detect a little difference in sound, so I ended up taking my muffler off, carefully taking it off, unclamping it, unbolting it and unclamping it, and holding the header pipe as steady as I could, rocking this back and forth so that I could work it off without disrupting the connection at the head with the header pipe with the gasket there. Once I got it out, I was able to take the bolts off, of course, carefully, and at the end of the unit there's a bar here that assists getting the unit out itself, getting the baffle itself out of the casing itself for the muffler. But I found that by doing this, I got it out, and I was able to take the end cap off, unbolt everything. I took a wooden dowel, and I was able to press it into the point where I could hit the shoulder of if I can show you this, the shoulder of the intake several times, and it was able to pop it loose. It did stick a little bit initially, but I was able to work it enough to get it loose, and I was able to get it pushed on out, and both pipes, both muffler baffles came out just great. And in doing so, I was able to discover Rush does a great job in their work, and they only tack the caps themselves to the baffle itself. They just do a four-point tack. But I found in one of them that the fitting in the baffle to the cap itself was not sealed sufficiently, and so it was blowing gas not down the pipe but out to the baffle itself on the packing side, and so it burned away the packing. Probably about half of the packing was gone on one of the mufflers, and so I got that taken care of. I re-welded it. I had a re-weld around the whole seam itself and cleaned that up. And then I shot a little black engine paint on it. It's good up to 500 degrees just to make it look nice, you know. It was pretty easy to clean up and so forth. But what I wanted to do here is, I know they give the instructions on, and Rush is great about sending packing material to you. Basically what they want you to do is to wrap it to where you have a 1/2 inch overlay. When you roll this there, I hope this is showing well. When you roll it, you want to be able to have approximately a 1/2 inch overlap right here, and then you tape that with masking tape. So what I've done here is I've already laid this out, and I've cut part of this down. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut this to the length that I want here and set that to the side. And then what I've done is you just take it and you roll the packing, or roll the baffle, I guess you'd say, over the packing itself, making sure it's good and tight, and it fits, you know, snugly. It's what you want. And I grab the end first, the middle, I should say, the middle. I'm taking packing tape here, and I'm wrapping that to there. and then I'll get the end done here. And I'm probably giving more tape than I need to, but I want to be able to make sure it's secure in that point. So I'm stretching that over that. So there we go there. And so that you've got the first wrap itself done. So that part is done there. Now the other item that they want you to do in repacking or rewrap or repacking your baffle is that after you put your first wrap down, you want to wrap the whole baffle packing itself in clear packing tape. And what this does, and I've talked to them at Rush, is that once this is wrapped like this and we start our second wrap, when it heats up and gets good and warm, this will actually melt the two pieces together, and it actually acts as a better bond to hold the whole unit together. And I was a little surprised at that, but they said that it's worked out real well for them, and it helps the packing last longer and stay in place. So what I'm going to do here is start the 2-inch tape. This is the clear packing tape, and it's a little bit of an issue because you're doing this with one hand. If you have somebody to help you, that's great, but if you don't, you can do it by yourself. You stretch it tight around the packing, just like I'm doing now. And I hope this is showing well. We'll find out. It's hard to grab it towards the end because you don't have the strength there. So get in there. And I'll explain what I'm doing to the end of the. I'm doing a little experiment to my particular setup. Okay, there we go. So now, let me straighten my towel up. So now we've got the first wrap of the baffle done, and it's wrapped tightly with the 2-inch clear packing tape. Now, like I said before, when we wrap the second sheet over this, when this gets hot, when you're running the bike and everything's up to temperature, this will gradually melt the two halves together and will actually act as a better baffle system itself. So now when I called them, they said they'll supply the baffling no charge. They sent it to me, which is great. The instructions, it's a very high density fiberglass material, obviously for packing. So what you want to do now is you want to look, I'm trying to find, you find your original seam, and you want to go to the opposite side, and you want to lay this out to where this is on the top, on the opposite side of that original cut, so that when it comes back over, when you come back over, then it'll be here and it'll be opposite to the other. So now what I'm going to do here is tape this right there, stretch that. Good to have your tape pre-cut. Makes it a little easier to deal with it if you're doing this obviously by yourself. And my beautiful assistant is not here right now to help me out, but she always is every other time. So anyway, so here we go. We'll roll this in, and like I say, you kind of pack it down as you go with your hand. And what I'm going to do is roll this up here and kind of get a gauge of my overlap, which they say about 1/2 inch. I've been allowing about 1 inch. And once you start the cut, then you can kind of know that your cut's the same all the way across here. So we cut that. Cut's really easy. Pair of scissors, good pair of scissors will make it easy for you. So what I'm going to do here, which I didn't pick enough, I'm going to cut a couple strips of tape here, and that'll get me set up for this, set up here. So I'm stretching that so that is a good solid feel to it. Take my tape, stretch that over that. Take my tape here. Oops. Stretch that there. And take my tape and stretch that there. There we go. So now, obviously, we got a good pack all the way around the baffle itself. Then the next step is to take that 2-inch packing and completely wrap the whole unit in the masking tape. This is your final wrap for the packing itself. And what happens is that when this goes into the unit, you have to work it in, of course. Is that you want this nice and snug and down tight. What happens when this gets warm, this is not going to melt like a plastic tape and this packing tape would to your shell on your muffler itself. Now the other thing that I was doing here, and you probably wondered on this, is that this is not a standard item with Rush. I was discussing with them, I'm running 1 3/4 inch baffles on this unit. My Harley is a 05 Harley. I've done some unique things to it. I'll have a picture of that later on and let you hear the sound of this thing. But what I've done is I've gone to ported heads from Harley. They're Screaming Eagle heads. They're not noted as Screaming Eagle, but they send them off to the Screaming Eagle shop, and so they give you a little larger intake and a stock exhaust. So it's got quite a bit of a kick to it. I have a 510 S&S cam in it, and I've gone with the Thundermax ignition system, or the ECM. I replaced the Harley ECM with the Thundermax. It's a closed loop system, and I can't say enough about it. I tried Power Commander, and I ran into an issue with it, I'm really pleased with the Thundermax. I think it's a great system. I think Harley will eventually go to that direction because, one, it keeps your bike tuned no matter what the conditions are, and as far as throttle response, whatever, mine's an 05, so it's a cable throttle versus wire on the newer models, but they have systems that work that as well. But what I'm doing here, I'm trying to quiet it down a little bit, is I've come up with a little idea that I think is kind of unique. I don't know if it's going to work totally, but what I've done is put 2 studs in here. I added two longer nut, I forgot what they call these, but to raise it up off the bottom, you can just use nuts or whatever. But I'm going to lay this in there and lay in another unit. These are basically tractor shims. You go to your farm supply. They have equipment shims, and these is a 1.5 inch interior diameter, and it gives me a 2 1/4 overall. And what happens is that with this cap on there, I'll have nuts in here to hold this one out here. My theory is as the exhaust comes out, that the sound wave itself will be disrupted somewhat instead of just going into a megaphone design, and it will soften it down just a little bit. I'm not wanting it to be totally stock quiet, but I wanted it to a little bit quieter for my neighbor's sake. So I'm going to try this to see if that disrupts the sound wave a little bit to where it softens it down, especially in the idle. Obviously when you get on it, it's going to be a little bit quicker. But that'll just fit right back over this once that's in there, and as you can see, if you can see that, it'll do some deflection of sound in there. So that's my next step, and we'll give it a try, and I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it comes through okay. Obviously I'm going to have to do a little editing maybe, but we'll go from there. Have a good day.